When we lead with love, we carry it 24/7. And when we teach with love, we make sure our students don't forget it. To be black and to educate, to be superhero without the applause. It's to show up and show out no matter the cause. It's to play for the students no matter the winner. Because when we work arm in arm, the impact is bigger. Welcome to Untenured Podcast, where educators have a space to speak their truth. So tap in and listen to the very voices that mold our youth.
So welcome, YouTube community, to our Untenured podcast. Here in our house, speaking your truth can never go left because it's your right. And this has been a long time coming. We are so hyped to finally have Mr. Bobby Morgan here in the building. And so we're back in Jersey for this 8th episode with an unbroken vibe. He's a dope Black educator and leader. He's a speaker and a consultant. Serving as a principal in Willingboro is only a fraction of what he does for the culture and educational communities. He's a speaker and a consultant and a host of the Liberation Lab podcast. And since alliterations are also our thing, let's give it up for a dope, dedicated disruptor on a mission to build fellow disruptors. He uses restorative routines as racial repair to build culturally responsive communities, as well as social justice classrooms. And as he says, he's a catalyst for visionary change in education and fully subscribes to Bettina Love's words that education can't save us. We have to save education. But in his words, his work is inspiring students and educators to ask, who would you be if it weren't for oppression? YouTube community, please help me welcome Bobby Morgan.
That man, like that right there, I appreciate the love. I said, man, who was she talking about? That is amazing.
I'm talking about you, brother. I'm talking about you for sure. And so thank you so much for coming on our podcast today and really talking to us about what you do, what you're hoping to inspire, and what you are inspiring. And first off, why Unbroken? Because every guest gets to title their own episode. Tell us why you picked that word.
Yeah, I think that when you think about education and you think about its effect that it can have on lives, we have produced a system where by default will break you. And what I mean is, if you show up and you want to be authentically you, passionate about what it is that you think or believe, you have questions, you push back against just accepting things as they are, our educational system, the way that the practices and the policies are reinforced, will break you.
Hello.
That's
so cheers to being unbroken. I couldn't have put it any plainer or more simply. And if you don't understand what this brother's talking about, follow him on Instagram at Liberation Lab, and he will break it down further. And so one thing I know about you, because you did tell me, you are a Baldwin lover. And so in the spirit of his 100th birthday, I'm sure you know one of his most beautiful essays, A Talk to Teachers, where he talks about going for broke. Right. And so in this theme of being unbroken and a fellow Baldwin lover, do you have any of his works that are your favorite or you haven't read yet, but it's on your TBR list?
So crazy you say that. I literally just picked up for first favorites, Fire Next Time.
Yes, we got that right. Look at that, brother.
Yeah,
that's
by far, as he's sitting down with his nephew and lacing him with all the wisdom that he starts with. I couldn't help but feel like I was seated next to his nephew, learning, and so much of that, of his wisdom in those words, and I love periodically going back to his conversation, and with Nikki Giovanni.
Come on.
The way that they began to talk about even like the family dynamic, right?
Yes.
And she's like, well, lie to me.
Yes.
You do it for everybody else. Lie to me.
Do it to me in the house. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And so if you don't know what Bobby is talking about, I will make sure that I drop a link into this YouTube channel. But this brother loves the fire next time, just like us. Not for nothing, I have not read yet his last novel, Just Above My Head. Is that what it
Mm-hmm.
is? Yeah, just above my head. It was the last novel he ever wrote, and so that's on my TBR list. So,
Ooh, okay.
Love the Fire
Okay.
Next Time, and his interactions with Nikki Giovanni are a total vibe. And
Yeah.
so, when I think of liberation, right, and being a fellow Baldwin lover like yourself, a little tangential question before I ask you about Liberation Lab: if you had to
Mhm.
create like a Mount Rushmore.
Mm.
Hate the American reference, but I'm trying to do something that is middle stream. A
Mhm.
Mount Rushmore of the liberators in your mind, who would they be? Like all time liberators.
So I'm definitely going Baldwin.
Okay.
Yeah, I always say that he served like as an alarm clock for folks to wake them up to the truths, but also glasses to help them see it more clearly.
Hello.
So Baldwin, for sure.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Fannie Lou Hamer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Hello.
And knowing her story and knowing how she still chose to dedicate her life to the service of others, um, it helps you put things in perspective for the ongoing work of justice today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm going to go with Fred Hampton.
Yes, sir.
Um, that organizational approach,
Mm-hmm.
um, and when you do enough work to where people want you out,
Hello. You know you're on the
you're
right path.
you're probably doing something doing something really well. And then I know it's been his work and his legacy has been sanitized and whitewashed, but I'm still going to go MLK.
Yes.
And and I'm talking about the radical, when we come, we're coming to get our check,
Yes.
MLK, that
Cut
the
the check.
true MLK. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
All right.
those are probably my four.
Well, I love it. I love it. And so, for those of you who don't know, Liberation Lab, we love first here at Sadie's, and Bobby is the first podcaster coming on as a podcast guest. And his podcast, Liberation Lab, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration for that curated content?
Yeah. So when I first started Liberation Lab, it was literally me posting quotes from folks that I just deeply admired and respected. I wanted to kind of blend my voice to the larger argument around 2024, the things that we're still fighting for to this very day, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about the ongoing work of justice. I honestly didn't know if my voice belonged. And
Mm.
so because I deeply respected those folks, I just kind of put them out there. It wasn't until April of 2021 where I said, maybe this can grow into something. And I actually started to believe that I could lend my voice to the conversation. So what started as an Instagram page seeking to just spread
Mhm.
truth became an actual venture to host a business where I could now work on the unlearning process that educators have to go on in schools that I myself did. I
Yeah.
wanted to give that to other people. And then the second piece is when it became the podcast, I wanted a way for folks to kind of tap into the work
Yeah.
um, in a way that said, "Man, listen, I'm gonna say it this way. There's this old cartoon with Bugs Bunny, and he is messing with this mad scientist. He drinks this potion, and all throughout, he's like little Bugs Bunny. Later on, he turns into this big monster, and he's beating the guy up and all kinds of things. But for me, that's a picture of what liberation should be. And what I mean is, you can't give it out if you don't have it,
Hello.
right? And so I want people to be a mad scientist, if you will, for liberation. You are the person that has done the work in yourself, and
Yeah.
now you can then serve and support others in doing that work. And so that's how I became a podcast, where now I hope other people can see those echoes and glimmers of liberation in various sectors of the world.
Well, I love how you're defining that, because even when I think about how you talk about this practice of proximity rooted in deep development of community. And one of our mantras here at the Bookseum is that community is a verb, right? Otherwise, you just live in a neighborhood,
Yes.
right? And so you
Yes.
can't give community if community is not within you. And even more profoundly, how you say, when I make your problems my problems, it's hard to hurt what you belong to. And so I just want to echo some of the things that you've been saying to show why why this is a serendipitous ancestral vibe here about the things that
Yeah.
you're doing in Jersey and what we subscribe to over here at Sadie's. And on a semi-light note, Donovan James, who was episode 2, Unbothered, we took a little time and spoke about her professor drip, because there's something very intentional even in your practices that you talk about, down to what you wear to encourage and motivate young people, and really leverage it as an engagement tool. So where did this idea come from? And then as a sidebar, do you have a favorite message tee line or brand? I see you rocking Hope Dealer.
Hope
I
dealer. Yeah.
didn't know you was going to wear one, but I wore BU, they'll adjust.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Yes. So when I first started in education, I bought into the lie that I could be palatably black
Hmm.
by dressing a certain way with the collar shirt and tie and things like that. If I spoke and was quote articulate, shout out to Dr. Jamila Lescott.
Yes.
Um, if I spoke and was articulate, then I would be accepted as palatably black.
Yeah.
And so much of that thinking permeated how I carried myself. And when I went on that unlearning journey that I'm still on, right? Like we still are doing this work continuously in myself, it is, I've learned that one, you're never going to like this, just you're never going to fit in a system that you weren't supposed to belong to begin with.
Yep.
It's never going to happen. And so if that's the case, then why not be authentically me for kids who are looking and studying and taking in? So I wear, shirts that, I don't think I would have ever worn when I first started, right? So uh Sharif El Mekki has his Center for Black Male Development. And so his brand has a shirt that says we need black teachers. I am the principal of a school and I wear that shirt proudly. And I
Wow.
have, staff that
Yeah.
are obviously white and see that.
Yeah.
And they might have feelings towards it or they might whatever, but statistically it's true.
Yes.
You can't deny this is an empirical fact, right? And so if you have a problem with it, then it's really your problem and not my problem.
Hi-oh. I
All
love it.
right.
And I love how you're even bringing it back to what you thought you had to be when you entered this profession. Because even when I think back to my first year teaching, I was shopping at Banana. I was buying those button downs and the slim pants and make sure I
Yeah.
had a certain shoe and a certain look and my hair a certain way. And one
Yeah.
of the things that really drew me to watching more of your reels, because I remember having this same reaction to this book when it was put in my hands. And I know what you're going to say. It's 4 words and it's called Teach Like a Champion. And I love that your 3-word response to that book. And I know it's banned book week, but there's just
Yeah.
certain, you got to call it and tell it like how you see it. You said to
Yeah.
burn that book. And I'm
Yeah.
right there with you, brother, because when I was a New York City teaching fellow and I was handed that book, I was like, this can't be the way in. And my first school was in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and that book went right on the shelf. I never even referenced it. And I love that you invite educators to abandon that bag of tricks, and even more so that you retitled it Teach Like a White Supremacist. So do you want to give our YouTube community who may not have followed you yet a little bit of a background around your feelings on that book?
For sure. So I was rushed onto this conveyor belt of high control methods because, particularly in the choice that I'm going to say some charter schools have made, particularly, is to serve Black and brown folks by controlling their bodies and not necessarily igniting their minds.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you control the body, now it becomes a matter of how quickly are you coming into the classroom? Are your silent transitions? How quickly do you have a pencil in your hand? How quickly are you getting to the work? Absolutely no talking. And it's done under the guise of we're really trying to close the achievement gap, which is really the opportunity gap, right?
Yes, yes.
And so when we talk about that, or the educational debt, shout out to Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings.
Yes.
So when that was me, I did it. I bought it hook, line, and sinker, and I got away with it because I looked like my students, and so they gave me a lot more grace. But even while I'm just doing all of this harm, no love is the foundation, no caring for who they are authentically and then stewarding them into their greatness, cultivating their genius. Shout out to Dr. Goldie Muhammad, right? There's none of those things happening. And so I had to really go on the journey of abandoning that practice because I saw how harmful it was. So
Mm.
now I'm on the other side. I've crossed over to the dark side, if you will. And I was the assistant principal at my building for the last 2 years.
Okay.
When I'm the assistant principal, I'm supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. You send them to me, I punish, they don't ever do it again. That's what I'm supposed to be. And now when I choose to love and serve and ask questions and interrogate root causes and say, no, I'm not suspending them for that. We're going to teach them how to do this differently.
Yeah.
Now I'm looked at very differently.
Yeah.
Well, if you were mad before, I'm the principal now. So what you gonna do,
Hello.
right?
Market, because if you can't get with that program, then maybe this is not the setting for you. And I love that you even, I think in one of your recent reels, you talked about just the power of asking young people why. Like before we go to those extreme measures of suspension and all of those other harmful strategies and tactics, like just get to the core of why there's such a behavior that we're not really feeling is appropriate for the school setting. And so I want to switch back to when you were a student and ask, do you remember, if ever, when you first felt liberated as a student in your own K-12 student journey?
Yeah, I think that there were, if you could imagine a desert and then
Mhm.
there's this oasis kind of trapped in the middle. I had I had experiences that were kind of like that, where I would travel through the desert for a little bit, then I might have a teacher that would give me, you know, a cool drink of water in an otherwise barren place, right? And so my third grade teacher, Miss Parham, Black
Mhm.
woman, she saw me.
Hmm.
She was heavy on the ancestral auntie energy. She was going to check me lovingly, but she knew who I was and my greatness. She made me feel like I could do anything when I was in her classroom.
Yeah.
I cannot remember one single lesson from third grade, but I remember how she made me feel.
Hello.
I
Hello. And
rem
that's
I
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes, to the point
powerful.
where I will always thank her and my 5th grade teacher, Miss Capers, because they are the 2 reasons why I became an educator.
Well, shout out
Um,
to them. Shout out to them.
yeah,
And they were in New Jersey?
both of them in Jersey, yes.
They're in New Jersey.
Still, periodically I had the opportunity to tell Miss Capers,
Hmm.
just this last year how much of an impact she had on my life and why I'm an educator because of her. So,
That's so
absolutely.
beautiful. And so, what would you say in the spirit of untenured, right? One of the questions that I love to ask our guests is, you are inspiring a fellow disruptor. They're a brand new teacher and they totally subscribe to what you're saying, but they're in the system and they say to you, but I'm not tenured yet. I'm with you, but let me get my tenure and then I'll get on that liberation journey to minimize harm for Black and brown kids. What say you to an educator who has that mindset?
How many kids will be harmed while you wait for tenure?
Mhm.
And so let's just say, mathematically speaking, you have 25 kids in your class and you teach 4 periods a day. That's at least 100 kids, right? Mathematically speaking, over 4 years, that's at least 400 kids that you could have made a difference in their lives by choosing to be who you know you should be today.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're putting it off for the mythical tenure, right?
Mhm.
And here's the thing. If there's ever a time where you can choose to be bold for the right things, it's during a teacher shortage.
Yeah,
You're
yes.
not going anywhere. Like,
You're
nobody's getting rid of you at this point. They need you at this point.
yes,
It's
yes.
in your favor. So if you're ever going to take a stand for liberation, you should probably do it now if there's ever going to be a time.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would commend them to think about it this way. Um, if you're in a space where you feel like you have to wait for tenure in order to be who you need to be for students, then that might not be the place for you. That's one. But two, if tenure is the thing that you think is going to protect you,
Hmm.
right? Then I'd really question how you look at this fight for justice that we are on.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you have tenure, if you're non-tenured, when you
The
look at the
safeguard
damage.
does not exist. It does not really
Yeah,
exist. It does
that
not.
part.
You'll find a
That's
way to
it.
get rid of you.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
And so either even if it's tenure, they're going to find a way to push you out. Right. So
Yes.
so get started now.
Yes.
right? And put yourself in a position to affect lives and affect change.
So we burn and teach like a champion, right? Teacher prep programs get remixed. They call in Bobby Morgan. They're like, we love what you do. The teachers are rocking with you. They're listening. What required reading should we add to the list for certification? Name drop some that you would say would grow self-awareness on this journey in education.
I would say a couple of things. One of them, I'm gonna shout out um, my sis Lacey Robinson from Unbound Ed. I'm gonna say Justice Seekers.
Mm-hmm.
A wonderful book. She talks about equity being in the details of teaching and learning, and I love this because when we talk about equity and we talk about how to move the needle forward, sometimes we don't wade into the waters of instructional practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you'll see things around behavior and you'll see things around love, and those things are important things, right? But there is an art and a craft to teaching that
Yeah.
that I think teachers need to get a hold of, right? And so it's not teacher as savior, it is teacher as skilled practitioner. And she talks about that in that book. So I would highly recommend that. The next thing, I don't have it with me because it's in my bag in the other room, but Dr. Deanna Smith's Rooted in Joy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that it is almost the antithesis of Teach Like a Champion.
Okay. I'm
And
I'm buying right after
it is a
this.
framework for
Okay.
how we can actually build out. So I believe in it so much that I went through it and my staff, like I bought it for every single member of my staff.
Hmm.
And we're going through it bit by bit as we're starting out this year. So her work is phenomenal. I would recommend it to anybody. Um, and then I think outside of that, I would probably recommend uh Rooted in Joy. Oh, Transforming School Culture by Dr. Anthony Muhammad.
Yes.
I I'd recommend that book for any school leader to think through how is it that we actually can move the needle in terms of building the culture, right? Of
Yeah.
the and the climate of your buildings to make it conducive. Because often we say we want diverse educators, but we
Yes.
don't put the conditions in where we can sustain
And retain.
diverse educators. That
Yes.
part.
Yes, yes. All right. So shout out to that. And I love how you're dropping pearls and spitting bars. And so I want to go on another tangent for a second because it's also a question we ask every guest. Do you have a hype song? Like, ooh, the weather.
Mm.
I'm feeling a little out of it today, but I gotta go be my best for these black and brown babies. Let me listen to this song and get myself and my spirits up. Your hype song would be
Ah, so there are a couple. Like if I'm in the car and I'm low and I need something that's just going to immediately give me a bunch of energy, I'm probably going to go Nipsey Hustle. I'm probably
okay.
going to go grinding on my life. That's one for me. That just gets me hyped, right?
Is she
That's
ready?
one of them. Yeah, it gets me ready. Um, if I went to another one, it would probably be um, hmm, oh, J. Cole.
Okay.
Yeah, J.
Okay.
Cole's my guy. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, listen, the reason why I asked that is because we have on our YouTube channel an untenured podcast hype song guest list, and every guest it's in sequential order. So we'll be adding which J. Cole song, by the way. I said yeah, but I didn't let you say which one.
Oh, no, you're good. So I he has a album of the year freestyle that
Okay.
I go back to often. Um, and if I had one more, it would probably be Middle Child. Just I really enjoy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I
Well,
really
listen, you're
enjoy
gonna
it.
be the first to give us two songs, and I'm not gonna try to decide which one makes the list. We're just gonna add both of them on behalf
Okay.
of Morgan. And the guest before you picked Annie up because he's from Brooklyn. But the
Yeah.
podcast list is really dope. I'll send it to you so you can hear it. And maybe it's just a way for us
I will
to
go
have
through it for sure.
something together apart. And then one other musical question. Name an artist whose swag matches your educational vibe. Like me as a
Mm.
principal, if I had to be a musical artist or combine these two, I would be a mix of
Oh, I'm gonna go Kendrick.
okay. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kendrick because Kendrick has the depth to talk about issues in a way that like you didn't know that he was telling you all about, like he took a
His
diss
own
of a
thing.
person,
Mhm.
right? And talked about being a colonizer. How did he weave that together? You don't know. Like, he's really deep, right? So I would say Kendrick for sure. And I'm got to go back to my guy J. Cole.
All right, got
I
you.
think if you blended those two together, you probably find me somewhere in there.
Now, another tangent, because I'm good for those. Do you think Kendrick's gonna bring J. Cole out at the Super Bowl?
Man, I wonder. I would be like, for me, I would be thrilled. I hope hip hop needs it. I hope so. Do I think he will? Knowing Kendrick, probably not.
Probably
What
not.
I do hope he does is get Lil Wayne. Even though Wayne said the things that
Yeah.
he said, I do hope he gets Lil Wayne and brings him out for a good bit at the Super Bowl for sure.
Well, I saw you rocking Hope Dealer, so all we could do is hope that
Yeah.
that type of hip hop for the culture collaboration happens. But if not, we're not expecting it, but we could hope. We could hope.
I can
All
hope
right.
for it. Yeah.
So in the spirit of that, I want to go to one of our micro segments. It's called Deuces. I'm going to give you 3 harmful realities in education. Some of them you might have experienced firsthand. Some of them you may have heard of and not experienced firsthand, but you're going to get the chance to tell us which one. If Bobby Morgan and his Liberation Lab had a magic wand and could just remove it from the system, because this one's doing the most harm, which one would you get rid of ASAP? Are you ready? And if I'm doing this right, they get a little spicier. I'm not going to ask you your why. They can DM you and engage in conversation.
Okay.
But here we go. All right. So here's the first one. All the Black staff are security, custodial, and cafeteria workers only.
Okay.
All the Black staff are skin folk, but not kinfolk.
Mm.
Or all the Black teachers teach remedial and non-advanced courses. Which one got to go?
I'm going to go skin folk and not
Skin folk,
kinfolk.
not kinfolk. Boom. I'm not asking you why, and there's no right or wrong. Here's the next one. Performative SEL. Someone comes in and I dog and pony social emotional learning. Disingenuous restorative practices. You know what I'm talking about. And then surface level culturally responsive teaching. Oh, you want another Black person for Black History Month? Let's just throw in a Harriet Tubman.
Repeat it one more time for me.
Sure. Performative SEL, dog and pony. You're not really trying to connect with kids. Disingenuous restorative practices. So you're not really trying to heal. You have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then surface level culturally responsive teaching.
Ooh. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I'm going to go restorative practices.
All right, boom. Next one. Being the only Black person at the decision-making table. Being the only safe space for students in the building. Or being the only disruptor in the classroom.
Disruptor.
Boom. I knew he was going to pick that. I'll bet my little mildly hot coffee. All right, we got 3 more. Teaching to the middle, teaching to your comfort level, or teaching to get the summers off.
I'm going to go comfort level.
All right, 2 more. Whitewash curriculum, white savior mentality, or white fragility.
Slight edge to savior.
Science to savior. All right. And here we go. Being treated as a checkbox. So you're treated as the quota. We got a Black hire. Okay. Being kept in a box. They're telling you all the cultural confines. Don't do this. Don't do that. Or being boxed out of opportunities for professional growth. No upward mobility.
Repeat it one more time.
Sure. Being treated as a checkbox. All right. We got a Black male. Check. Being kept in a box. Don't do those things to disrupt or liberate. There are confines to how you have to do this thing called teaching, or being boxed out of opportunities for professional growth. No, you can't move up and be AP or principal. Like, stay as a gym teacher.
I am going to say slight edge to being kept in a box.
All right, cool. Can I do 2 more?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. So teachers with a deficit-based mindset about kids. Deficit-based mindset. Teachers who promote Black history but crush Black futures. Shout out to a plug and a quote from you. Or teachers who work in low-income communities only until the loan forgiveness requirement is met.
Ooh. Deficit mindsets.
All right, and here's the last one. Policing how our kids dress, policing how our kids act or policing how our kids speak?
I'm going to say speak.
All right. Well, chuck up the deuces. You survived that. Our next micro segment is called They Say, You Say, and it's a chance for you to have a rapid fire clap back. Expletives
Okay.
allowed. We're in a private setting here. Someone
Okay.
says to you, angry black man, you say,
uh,
say it. You're going to say it. Say
let me just say this really quickly. This is one of those words. It's one of those segments that's going to really work on me because I try to be like thoughtful all the time. But this is good. Angry black man. I probably say you're damn right, but about the right things.
Hello, hi. Okay. They say building disruptive educators creates discord in schools. Why are you building disruptive educators? You say,
you don't belong here.
Whoop.
Find another job.
Come on, clap back. Okay. They say color doesn't matter. It's knowing your content. There are black people with white supremacist thinking too. You say,
not all skin folk are kinfolk. And if that's the way you're thinking to teach my babies, then this is not the place for you.
That might be the answer for everything. This is not the place for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they say restorative work can't be done with all kids and settings. Some just are beyond repair. You say,
I'm getting angry even listening to it.
no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is private
give
conversation.
Yeah, give the real answer.
Yeah, my real answer is fuck that. If you don't know my babies, if that's what you think.
Yeah, and this is not the place for you.
And if there are two broken, then who did the breaking?
Come on, Unbroken, episode 8. You better tell it. All right. So you talk about listening to kids and at time even apologizing to kids, but that will give them the upper hand. Anybody got time for that? You say.
I would say you're thinking it's trash. Like, if you really feel like a kid gets the upper hand by treating them like a human, right? Then all you think about is domination, and you can't be dominated. My kids are too genius, too wonderful for you to be trying to dominate. We can't have that. So
we ain't got time for you, oppressor. All right, and
absolutely
then
not.
There's two more. They say Baldwin's work should be banned from K-12 curriculum. Banned. You say.
Mm-hmm. I would say to that there is no way that they've opened a Baldwin book if they think that.
Ever in your life.
Ever in your life have you opened a book if that's what you think?
And this is not the place for you. All right. And then last one. They say education should be neutral. It's not an educator's place to take a side or promote a side. To that you say.
Then you're no true educator. Education is inherently political, is inherently, and here it is, justice takes sides.
Hello. And you know what you're making me think of? Paolo Fieri. He says that education does one of three things. It either alienates, domesticates, or liberates. And it's only one of those three. So get out of here with your neutrality. All right. Well, shout out to They Say, You Say. Thank you for that rapid fire clackback and keeping it real. I love that you dropped the F-bomb and you just are like, fuck that. We don't have time for those type of educators. This is an emergency situation. And so for our last micro segment, we call it Oh Hell No. And it's another opportunity where we invite the guests to bring a current event or something weighing heavy on their heart or mind to this conversation of their choice and just have a chance to free flow and tap in about why it's on their heart and mind. And I know what you wanted to bring to the forefront was the perception that is out there right now of Haitian Americans, especially in Springfield, Ohio. What say you?
Yeah, so I was listening to vice presidential candidate JD Vance talk about it. And he said, if this is what I have to do in order to bring light to these issues, then I'm going to lie. And here's why that infuriates me on multiple levels. One is we don't have any type of, like, the standard is in hell for what you have to be in order to be a leader of the country, right? So he's willing to lie. And here He's willing to lie at the expense of people that he truly doesn't care about, right? So he's willing to sell out anything for power. So when we're talking about um, the narrative around, you know, Trump talking about they're poisoning the blood of our country and all these things that he just says freely, right? And this man has a South Asian, a woman of South Asian descent as his wife. He is
Mm-hmm.
willing to sell out everything in order for this access to perceived power. And so it infuriates me because he is not unlike many of the educators who walk into our schools, because they will say, "Oh, no, you know, we can't wade into those waters. That's too political. That's too this." And so they'll stick close to the chest about how they really feel or what they really think, or because of what they really think and because they voted for this man twice, they allow these things to continue to happen. And so they
Mm-hmm.
never address the harm. And so
Yeah.
what kids see you doing is your silence is deafening. And so for me, I think that you don't get to a JD Vance and a Donald Trump if you have disruptive educators in schools who are
Yes.
challenging these notions from the beginning.
Yes.
Right? And if you're willing to get through K through 12 schooling and let's just say even beyond that in college, if you get through all of that and you still think like these gentlemen do, then there is literally a grade of an F for all of schooling if that's how you arrive. And we've never done any work of justice to be able to challenge that mindset. So for me, it's a hell no to all of that. And I want to just say to all my Haitian American, Haitian immigrants who are here, I stand with you as much as I can. Sac passe, and much love to
Yes.
you. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And so shout out to a emphatic oh hell no to Vance vibes in any iteration of it, because just like you said, you know, if not for disruptive educators standing in their roles, then that can be the byproduct of what's manifested in positions of power and in our communities. And so
yeah.
huge emphatic oh hell no. And I know I spent a lot of time talking about some of the deficits and the harms and what we need to do to liberate, but I want to make sure that we end on an asset-based note and ask you two things. One, what do you do that is rejuvenating, right? In this work where you're inviting people to be disruptive and liberate, it's very arduous work. I'm sure it takes a toll on you emotionally, physically, psychologically to pour into your building and teach your communities in the way that you do. So what do you do to rejuvenate yourself in this work?
So the first thing I would say is my two children, my family, my loving wife, like they keep me grounded, right? One, you can't get, you know, too high on yourself or too high on any type of work because they keep you grounded. But two, you can't get too low because when you come in, when I come in the house, like, you know, especially my daughter, like she does not care if daddy had a rough day. It's time, right? And so that keeps me centered on, you know, having an anchor in the midst of a storm, if that makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
So I would say absolutely my family, but also, man, it really is the students that I get the honor of serving every single day, right?
Yeah.
Like just watching them, the joy they have at the classroom. I mean, in the cafeteria, in the classroom, when they're interacting with one another. If you just listen for genius, you will hear it.
And for joy. Yes.
Yes. You
Yes.
listen for joy. You listen for love. You will hear it.
Yeah.
More times than not, people who don't hear it out of certain children aren't listening for it,
Hello. And you know what that
right?
reminds me of? When I was a high school principal and I was training a new AP on how to go in and evaluate a classroom, I said, you can go in and look for anything you're trying to find, right? Like
Yeah.
even in a relationship, if you're looking to find this thing, you dig, you're going to find it, right? So
Yeah.
go in with the mindset of I'm looking to see joy, to see laughter, to see engagement. And then you'll find, because you're going in with that eye, you'll be more prone to see the nuanced details of how it can manifest in a classroom. So
Yeah.
shout out to that. And it's almost like the perfect segue to my next question was, what has been some of your biggest joy in being a middle school principal or leading this work of disruptive educators?
So when I first took this, and again, this is my first year as the principal of the building that I've had the joy of serving for the last couple years. it is it is almost majestic, even if you will, to see folks switch from feeling like I don't know if I have support to knowing that it's there for them,
Hmm.
taking risk, right? And doing things that are outside of their comfort zone, knowing that they have the support of an administration that really truly loves and serves these children, and therefore will coach, support, and really serve the students, right? Like if you don't feed the teachers, they will eat the children.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm a big proponent of that. And so being able to see that is a big one, but then also I think it is a balance,
Hmm.
because you can incorrectly assume that regardless of what level that you get to, that now you reach that level where you can really make a change. Well, I'm still middle management, right?
Hmm.
There is a
A
district
hierarchy.
office that still tells me how I can do what I can do.
Yeah.
So wherever you are, I don't care if you are the superintendent, I don't care if you're the custodial facility staff, I don't care if you are a paraprofessional, however you view yourself in that spectrum of education that folks, say is the hierarchy, if you will, of education. There are levels to which you can still enact change, push for liberation, and disrupt the status quo so that we can see these student outcomes change, particularly for Black and brown folks. So I don't care where you are. So
Yeah.
we all can start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to break my own rule about ending with asset based questions because I'm very curious. You represent a less than 10% cohort of Black male principalship in the United States. And so I have to ask this question. What is your biggest, if not a few of your pet peeves as a Black male principal in educational settings? Like if you could just put out a PSA, stop doing this, or please start doing this, what would it be?
Yeah. So right now it has been tackling these deficit mindsets that manifest in things like not giving kids access to grade level instruction. Right. When I tell you it drives me nuts. If I walk into your room and I know people are going to say, well, it's not that big to if you don't see the standard on the board and things like that. And I get where that comes from. But if you are operating in a space where these things haven't happened, and so you have to have levels of accountability to ensure they happen, then yes, I need to see the standard on the board. Yes, I need to see your objective, because I need to be able to look it up and see that you are doing exactly what it is that you say you're going to do right by these kids.
And I can
Does
hold
that
you.
mean we don't have
Absolutely.
scaffolds and things like that? Absolutely have scaffolds, but scaffolds are meant to be taken away,
Yes.
right? As you support them. And I
Mm,
think that's one. But the second one I would say is kind of like that. I need my teachers to really know the difference between a scaffold and a modification.
come on.
If you are lessening the load, lowering the standard, you're modifying.
Yes.
If the standard doesn't change and you're giving access to the standard, now we're scaffolding, right?
Yeah.
For me, the picture is always of me being that freshman on a varsity basketball team, and the senior saying, all right, lift this weight, and I couldn't even get it off the bar, and
Mm.
he grabbed it and pulled it with me. Did the weight change? No, but he spotted me
And gave
and
you
I
this.
had access to lift it, right?
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing for our kids.
Well, listen, brother Bobby Morgan, he stays booked and busy. You might have to watch a separate TED Talk to hear how long it took us to get this to happen, but I'm so glad that it finally has, and it happened divinely when it should. At Liberation Lab on Instagram, he's a speaker, he's a consultant, but he's also a principal, y'all. So show some patience and grace, but he can definitely be someone that you bring to your school community to inspire a fellow disruptor. And so we started with Baldwin, and I want to end with him. Give you the last word. Anything you want to say to fellow Black educators or leaders to encourage them to be unbroken on their journey to educate and liberate?
Yeah, I want you to be the educator that chooses to love, be the educator that chooses joy, be the educator that, in the words of Baldwin, even if you are met with the most fantastical, the most devastating resistance, that you are willing to go for broke because our babies deserve it. And I want to be clear here. I say babies because of the adultification of Black girls in schools. I say
Right.
babies because we choose to look at our Black children as threats rather than champions, rather than victors, rather than geniuses, right? And so I'm very intentional with my language there because they deserve it, right? So be the
Yeah.
educator that chooses to see them for the geniuses and the champions that they are.
And if I could quote you one last time to really give that last cherry on top, to follow this brother, listen to his words. I hope he's writing a book. I know that he authored parts of other books, but that's a separate conversation. The Black exceptionalism that comes with Black girl magic and Black boy joy. I mean, I love your whole position on that. Can you share it really fast for our viewing community?
For sure. Yeah, we say all the time, Black boy joy and Black girl magic, and those things are wonderful things. I'm wholeheartedly on that train. But
Mhm.
typically we say these things as a response to the hell we had to deal with in order to embody that joy, in order to outlast, to survive a lot of harm. And
Yes.
I say all the time, like, what if we didn't need magic?
Hello.
What if we could just go to school? What if we could just exist? What if magic was not necessary? Right?
Yeah.
That's what liberation will do. It will make it so that magic is not required.
Listen, and so we might have to start a Bobby Morgan t-shirt. Who would you be if it wasn't for oppression, right? We wouldn't need the magic, we wouldn't need the joy, because we wouldn't have to have the obstacles and the resilience to even need a term like that. You are a total vibe. Thank you for your resilience and having this huddle for us to record this session at Liberation Lab. Speaker, consultant, educator, hope dealer, dedicated disruptor. I can't think of another alliteration right now because I'm just genuinely thrilled that we had the chance to chop it up. Your hype song, both Nipsey and J. Cole's, will be on the playlist. And if nothing else, we wish you a really dope rest of the year. Thank you for all you do to stay 10 toes down for the culture on behalf of our Black and brown babies. And for those who are watching, you know what we say here. Speaking your truth can never go left because it's your right. And Bobby was right on time with his message of liberation. Stay blessed. See you soon.
Thank you for having me.